When I think of my nostalgia for Xenoblade Chronicles 1, it was about my own personal mythos with the game. I had attempted to play the game 2 times before giving it its due on the 3rd attempt. That feeling of brushing aside the game that many times and when I finally didn't, becoming enamored with it holds a very special place for me. Which is to say nothing of the actual quality of the game, which I remember having endearing characters, cool locations, a really cool story and world, and a unique battle system, all of which fit on the Nintendo Wii. On top of that, I also now think of that certified banger on the soundtrack, and it's certainly something I'll never forget. It's a rare game that has history on top of history, and the legend just gets stronger as time goes by. And after rewatching my playthrough, I've decided to place it ahead of Tales of Berseria. Here's why. My experience while playing the game was certainly filled with a lot of anticipation. A game that had eluded me for so long because I just wasn't interested enough in it, and in the end, it surprised me at so many turns. I found myself engrossed in a world that I had never seen done before and a cool take on how a game could exist within it. I just couldn't stop stating how a game this good could be on the Nintendo Wii console. The world was so vast, with areas being huge and loading screens basically being non-existent. You could go to the knee of the Bionis and see the Mechonis across the sea, or see the Mechonis sword from afar. They created this amazing place of 2 creatures that died out, and then inhabitants lived on their corpses. I was also enthralled by the combat system, which looked a lot worse than playing it. So many abilities had cooldowns of 60 seconds or more, but the gameplay was fast-paced despite that. The systems all fell into place with the gameplay, and even more than that, the story had taken its hold on me. I enjoyed its characters and their progression, but on top of all that, the journey they took was fun and enjoyable. My biggest criticism that I had was the explanation of how everything came to be at the end of the game. Xenoblade Chronicles 1 built such a wonderful fantasy world combined with a cool mechanical sci-fi element, but it all felt grounded. However, upon revealing that it all started because someone in a space station with advanced technology overstepped, it lost a lot of allure. On top of that, Alvis being a supercomputer dialed things back for me. It just wasn't the fantasy that the game sold me on, and all of the space stuff felt completely unnecessary. Despite that, my first experience with the game marked one of the best, and it was difficult not to gush about it over and over again. The rewatch for me didn't get off to the best of starts, admittedly. It could have been because the game needed to get off the ground, or perhaps because I knew I liked the game so much that I wanted those feelings immediately. Regardless, I didn't feel as pulled into my playthrough until Mechonis was reached. It was at that point that the game took a turn for the better. We began learning much more about the world and its antagonists. Characters were getting into their stride, and we had a very clear objective on what we needed to do and how to do it. On top of that, I think the gameplay really picked up at this point, as I had multiple characters and plenty of arts to utilize. The last 10 to 15 hours of the playthrough were just a really exciting ride, especially because I didn't remember everything about the game. The plot twists were nice, the execution of the story, as well as its delivery and pacing were all wonderful. The final boss fight was even a nail-biter, as I spent around 45 minutes fighting a boss that was higher level than me, while hoping that killing the extra enemies in the fight was enough to level me up mid-battle. I would also echo my past self's thoughts on the space plot, as it felt so out of place. It would be different if it was introduced halfway through the game, but to add it as a couple of loose cutscenes at the end just felt very jarring. Based on memory, I ranked Xenoblade Chronicles 1 at 3 out of 117, and it's entirely possible it can achieve that position. While giving my thoughts during the credits, I said it was a top 10, if not top 5 game for me in 2017, and I don't necessarily feel any different. The combat, the story, the world, the characters, just about everything in the game feels so unique and fresh. But beyond that, the game is also just really cool. So having said all of that, I think this slots ahead of Tales of Berseria. This is a game that came out on the Nintendo Wii and somehow had the power to do everything it did and more. It also got me to care about Fiora, a character that dies in the first 2 hours, and made me feel sad about it. It also has Ricky in it, who is definitely the best character. What more could be said?